Oh my goodness. Well, we just got some big breaking news here in NASCAR on this Monday morning. Connor Zilisch will be driving for Hendrick Motorsports coming up in 2028. Welcome back to another episode of Talkin NASCAR. I'm your host, Andrew. Welcome back to another episode. It's been a little bit, a little inconsistent here and there, but we're back. We got some big breaking news here today on Monday morning. As you heard in the intro, Connor Zilisch signing with Hendrick Motorsports. Big silly season implications already for the 2028 season. Absolutely incredible. We haven't seen a move like this in a couple years. This is just unbelievable. I did not think that we would see this announcement in 2026, an announcement for 2028 season, no less. So mind blowing for several reasons. We got to talk about Connor Zilisch, that signing, some other silly season news, the O'Reilly, or excuse me, the Craftsman Truck Series at Richmond this past weekend, and then we have my power rankings to round out the episode. But we'll just dive right into it. It's a little all over the place to begin the episode, but we'll get some structure to it by talking about Connor Zilisch signing with Hendrick Motorsports. It was announced earlier today he will be driving the number 48 Ally Chevrolet beginning in 2028, signing a multi-year contract with Hendrick Motorsports earlier today. So this is a huge move for both Connor Zilisch and Hendrick Motorsports. Hendrick has found their replacement for Alex Bowman already. We got an announcement a couple weeks ago that Bowman will retire after the 2027 season. He will retire from full-time NASCAR Cup Series racing. Is open to doing some more, part-time schedules and select starts here and there. But Hendrick is still looking for their full-time replacement. But now that, they obviously had that Bowman situation resolved and who was going to drive that car for 2027, they could obviously work towards finding Bowman's replacement. And it came together pretty quick with signing Connor Zilisch. Again, I did not think we would be getting this announcement, in, the year 2026 first. I did not think we were going to be getting this announcement here and now. I was thinking that an announcement for who would drive the 48 next would come in the year 2027 at the bare minimum. It'd still be surprising if it was, early on in the year, like January, February, when the season gets started, but maybe I was expecting this announcement, April, May, June, a little bit further on into the season when, negotiations have, probably wrapped up and we're in the height of silly season for the NASCAR Cup Series. No, instead we get this announcement on August 17th of 2026, probably at least a full year like early, I would say. So the timing is something that I haven't seen in NASCAR for a long time. I mean, the last, instance I can think of a contract being signed this early was like for Tyler Reddick when he joined 2311 Racing while he was still driving for Richard Childress Racing, and that, agreement ended up, happening early. Reddick moved over to the 45 car in 2023 after Kurt Busch had to retire due to medical reasons, and Kyle Busch became available. So RCR just took Kyle from Toyota, and Reddick just moved on over to 2311 Racing a year early. So that was, the last early contract signed between Reddick and 2311 Racing. Now we have Connor Zilisch heading over to Hendrick Motorsports. So I guess what this means for both sides is that, I mean, both are set for their future long term. Zilisch does have, one more season left on his contract with Trackhouse Racing to drive the 88 next year. So we'll see how, performance is impacted there with Connor and Trackhouse. And Hendrick has got the replacement already set for when Alex Bowman walks out the door for the final time. But let's go ahead and read some statements from Rick Hendrick, owner of Hendrick Motorsports, and Connor himself. So Rick Hendrick said, quote, "Connor is truly a gifted young racer. His talent behind the wheel is exceptional, but I'm even more impressed by the person he is. When someone of that kind of ability and character becomes available, you do everything you can to bring them into your organization. We have tremendous confidence in Connor, and we believe he's the right driver to build on the legacy of the number 48 team for many years to come." And Connor Zilisch said, quote, "This is one of those moments you dream about as a kid. Hendrick Motorsports has always represented the standard in our sport, and being entrusted to help continue that legacy means everything to me. The chance to drive a Chevrolet for Mr. Hendrick, carry the colors of an incredible partner like Ally, and compete alongside some of the best drivers and people in racing is what you work so hard for. I'm grateful for the confidence they've shown me me, and it's my job to prove they made the right decision. So yeah, that's great statements there. I just want to say I'm so happy for Connor Zilisch. This has been an absolutely disastrous rookie season for Connor. He just turned 20, joined the Cup Series when he was still a teenager. But this was not the rookie year we were expecting out of Connor Zilisch. Filled with a lot of crashes and DNFs that aren't necessarily his fault, in my opinion, at least. A lot of it is, Connor being at the back of the pack, which is, not really his fault, I would say either. He's an inexperienced cup driver. He entered the series full time this year while he was still only 19 years old, turned 20 a couple months ago. So, a very inexperienced driver. Trackhouse overall is lacking pace. Ross Chastain has been turning it up as of late. We've seen Connor Zilisch pull off two back-to-back really solid qualifying efforts, and a really good finish last week in Iowa. This weekend in Richmond wasn't as good. So, but there's definitely been some improvements for Connor, but it's just been overall a very underwhelming and disappointing season for Connor Zilisch. He's competed very, very well on the road courses, which you expect. He comes from that road course racing background, driving overseas in open wheel racing on road courses. So he has that background, and that was expected, but everything on the ovals is not translated. But we know that Connor Zilisch is probably the most exciting young driver in the sport for the first, like, I would say honestly, since, like a Jeff Gordon or a Chase Elliott. I mean, maybe not Chase Elliott. I think he surpasses Chase Elliott, but he's one of the most surprising young drivers and most interesting young drivers to keep an eye out for in the series. So we know he has the talent. We saw it in the O'Reilly series last year. Almost won the championship. Should have won the championship. Had 10 wins in his first race in the O'Reilly series back in 2024 at Watkins Glen. He won his first race there in dominant fashion. He battled a broken collarbone last season. He's just been incredible. It's been incredible to see what Connor Zilisch has been able to do in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, and in the Cup Series it hasn't necessarily translated, but we all know that the talent is there for the young 20-year-old out of North Carolina. But then looking around at, some of the other things about this announcement, I'm surprised, honestly, that Ally is sticking around. I know Ally, is a big partner with Hendrick, one of the big marquee partners of the sport of NASCAR, along with Hendrick Motorsports. But I wasn't sure if we were going to see Ally on that number 48 car beyond the 2027 season after Bowman retires, because I honestly felt like they were more of a Bowman sponsor and partially a Hendrick sponsor than, you know, being able to be passed around as a team sponsor. But I guess they will be sponsoring Connor Zilisch. But I mean, honestly, you're sponsoring a 20-year-old phenom like Connor. You get him in there, and you replace Alex Bowman, the guy that you've had representing your brand for how many years has it been? It's been like 7, 8 years now. So I mean, it's going to be, a pretty good transition. You're getting a pretty good deal here when you're replacing Alex Bowman with Connor Zilisch as your spokesperson, as the face of your brand on the 48 car. So, I mean, I can understand why Allies, sticking around with Hendrick. So it's good news for Hendrick, good news for Connor Zilisch, good news for Ally overall. Really, the only losers here, I would say, are Trackhouse Racing. And honestly, I would say Corey Day and Raja Caruth, because we'll get to Raja and Corey Day in a second. But when I look at this, Trackhouse obviously just lost the most exciting driver they've had in their organization, quite honestly, since SVG, honestly, when he came into the sport and won at Chicago. But clearly, Connor Zilisch, in my opinion, and probably a lot of other people's opinions, his hype was so much bigger than Shane Van Gisbergen, and I don't think it was even close. SVG's a proven winner, sure, but Connor Zilisch, with the ceiling he has to do well on road courses and ovals, is something that I don't think we will ever see out of Shane Van Gisbergen. And Connor Zilisch, again, is so young. He was only a teenager not too long ago, so it's incredible. But it's a huge loss for Trackhouse, and this really, I think, puts into question what the future will be for an organization. Because honestly, obviously, you lose Connor Zilisch. They haven't performed well with Chevy this year, and we've heard rumors this year that maybe they're looking to jump on board with a new manufacturer, and I think that this could be an opportunity. I honestly think that if Connor Zilisch stayed with the organization, they were probably going to stick around as a Chevy team because of manufacturer loyalties that Connor Zilisch may have with Chevrolet. Now, manufacturer loyalties mean so much different things in this day and age compared to what we've seen out of previous years. And really, drivers are not, tied to manufacturers as they were, I would say even 5 years ago. So that's a thing that might have happened. But now that Connor is gone, or he's going to be out the door after next season, is maybe Trackhouse going to look to switch manufacturers. We know Dodge is going to come in back into the sport and into the Cup Series as soon as next season. I don't think it's going to happen next year because Connor Zilisch will be under contract with Trackhouse. So maybe next year they stick with Chevrolet once again. But then following that, once Ram is probably up there in the Cup Series, maybe we see Trackhouse calling over to Ram and Dodge to partner with the new manufacturer because clearly the partnership with Chevy has been depleting over the last couple of years. The performance has not been there. We've seen Chastain last year only has one win on the year, and the team is overall carried by Shane Van Gisbergen. But meanwhile, he struggles on the ovals. This year, SVG's, found a little bit more consistency on the ovals, while Chastain has not had nearly enough, performance to make the chase. He's gotten better as of late, and he's put himself back in that conversation. And Connor Zilisch, we just talked about it. He's not been very good this year. It's been a rough year for Connor Zilisch. And again, I've said that it's more of a Chevrolet problem than it is a, Connor Zilisch problem. And then Chevrolet has struggled across the board. I mean, RCR has been terrible. And with Kyle Busch, they couldn't do anything with RCR and Kyle Busch over there. Hendrick has not looked the same. The 2 wins from Hendrick Motorsports have come from both Chase Elliott. Kyle Larson has still not won a race yet. William Byron still hasn't run a race. Alex Bowman has looked really mediocre this entire year, and I think that's being generous. AJ Allmendinger, a road course ace, has not won on a road course since 2023. So Chevrolet is just overall been terrible this year. And I think Trackhouse, Justin Marks, always looking to make this organization better. I wouldn't be surprised if in a year or two we see an announcement that with Connor Zilisch moving out of the team, we see Trackhouse Racing switch to another manufacturer coming up. And taking a look at this, though, from Corey Day and Raja Caruth's perspectives, this is a huge bummer for them. They are Hendrick Motorsports prospects. Corey Day recently was signed to a development deal with Hendrick Motorsports, got an opportunity to drive full-time in the O'Reilly Series this year. There was some speculation that maybe he would jump up to the Cup Series in 2028 to fill that Alex Bowman role. He's a guy that's in-house. He's a guy that has support from Rick Hendrick and that entire team. Now, that virtually has been blocked. I mean, maybe if Kyle Larson chooses to retire once his contract is up, maybe Corey Day gets his opportunity. But I wouldn't be surprised if Corey Day, now seeing that he's got, no immediate path to the Cup Series and there's no guarantee that Kyle Larson will want to step away from the sport, anytime soon. We know he wants to go dirt racing and pursue a World of Outlaws championship. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure Corey Day is 100% committed to Hendrick Motorsports now, seeing that they are no longer fully committed to him, in my opinion. And same for Raja Caruth. His commitment probably from Hendrick Motorsports is, probably been dwindling or going down now that Corey Day seems like to be their top guy in that chain. Raja Caruth probably is a guy that, walks out the door. Maybe he sticks with, a Hendrick aligned team. Maybe he goes over to Spire when Michael McDowell, his contract runs up, or if Michael McDowell wants to retire soon, because McDowell's getting up there in age. He is. He's beginning to get into his mid-40s. Who knows how long Daniel Suarez will be there if, he can keep up that consistent, race pace like we've seen this year. I'm not willing to bet much that, Suarez will be a top 10 driver in the sport next year because I don't think that's realistically possible for someone like Daniel Suarez. He's a good driver, but I think, seeing Daniel Suarez as a borderline top 10 driver is, pushing it every single year. So I wouldn't be surprised if Spire, turns to a younger driver that has more upside, like a Corey Day. If, Hendrick wants to get Corey Day some opportunities in the Cup Series, if Raja Caruth wants to go back to Spire, the team that he got his big break with in the Craftsman Truck Series after GMS folded a couple years ago. Or if a team like Trackhouse is willing to go and get someone like a Corey Day or a Raja Caruth to fill that Connor Zilisch role, maybe they just say, hey, Hendrick, you took one of our guys. We're going to take one of your guys too. I think that might be a real possibility out there as well. Don't forget Penske, like Hendrick, they've shown the ability to just go out and get their guys. While they're not, technically the team that signed him, Jesse Love is going over to the Wood Brothers next year, and wouldn't be surprised if we see Jesse Love take over the 2-car for Austin Cindric in the coming years, and Cindric, does a ride spot swap with Cindric and Barry, or not Barry, with Love and Cindric doing a rise drop. Cindric goes to the 21. We see Jesse Love go to the 2. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that. Don't forget RFK, Keselowski. How much longer does he have? Can RFK go and get someone else? I wouldn't be surprised if we see Corey Day and Rajah Caruth in a couple years branch off from Hendrick Motorsports now that their, path to the Cup Series is less certain with that organization. So, yeah, but they're huge losers because now they got to actually, I think they got to keep looking for more jobs. They got to keep their eyes open for any new opportunities that arise outside of Hendrick Motorsports, which is a shame for them because Hendrick is a really good organization. Hendrick just chose a different prospect and went different ways. So I feel bad for Corey Day and Rajah Caruth. They're going to get rides somewhere else, wherever that be, in the Cup Series. I think they both have Cup Series talent. We'll just have to wait and see where that ends up being because I don't see it being with Hendrick Motorsports anytime soon. So anyways, there you go. That's my take and immediate reaction to Connor Zilisch signing with Hendrick Motorsports. We're still a long way away from we seeing Hendrick and Connor Zilisch officially out on track together. That will be in the 2028 season. A lot can change between then. I'm not saying that the contract's going to fall through, but, can't, say that it hasn't happened in the past before. So we'll just have to keep an eye out for that. I doubt it does, fall through at all, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, moving on now. Got one more silly season storyline to cover in the Cup Series before we move on to the last two topics. Noah Gragson officially signed his contract extension with Front Row Motorsports. He'll be he'll be staying with the 4 team next season for Front Row. We heard it a couple weeks ago. Jerry Freese, general manager of Front Row, said that they are talking with Noah and a contract announcement will be coming in the coming weeks. We finally got it. Hasn't been a great season for Noah, his second year with Front Row, but he's shown flashes lately of having solid speed. The one that's going to stick out in my mind, obviously, is, Michigan when he was running up inside the top 15. Even the last 2 races of Iowa and Richmond, he was running up inside the top 20 and was, leading the charge for Front Row out of Todd Gillen and Zane Smith. Noah Gragson has been the one leading the way. So maybe that Ford team is starting to figure out some things on the race side of things. So I think that's very encouraging. I like Noah Gragson, for Front Row. He brings in sponsors. He's a, big social media guy, a very popular amongst the industry with, his style and his kind of, truly, I would say, hell yeah style. I would say that's what NASCAR is kind of leaning into. Noah Gregson's leaning into that as well. So it's a good move on like the PR side of things for Noah. And I still think Noah Gragson has some, good driving ability. With Front Row, I don't know how much he'll get out of that team and how much Front Row will get out of Noah. But we've seen with Noah in top tier O'Reilly Series equipment with Junior Motorsports, he wins several races a year, and he's in the chase or in the push for a championship back when he drove for that team. So Noah Gragson is 100% capable of, driving in the Cup Series. But we'll have to wait and see. But I think it's a good partnership, Front Row and Noah. He's a good, veteran of the sport, of the industry, I guess, like compared to Todd Gillen and Zane Smith. He has a little bit more experience, I would say. He's a bit of more of an older guy compared to Todd and Zane. So I like the move for Front Row. It's still a very young core that they have with Noah, Todd, and Zane. And I really like that. So good on Front Row retaining their guy of Noah Gragson. My only question is now, what's Lane Riggs going to do? He's confident that Cup opportunities are going to come. Are we going to see Lane Riggs back in the Truck Series with Front Row? Is he going to get another Cup opportunity this year? Is he going to get an offer to go up to the Cup Series next year? Or is he going to get an O'Reilly Series ride? Who knows? I honestly think that, now we might see Lane Riggs back in the trucks with Front Row. But I wouldn't be surprised next year Lane Riggs really starts getting the Cup offers or the O'Reilly offers. So Lane Riggs' future is bright. It's how long that can Front Row retain him is the question. Moving on, we're going to take a look at the Craftsman Truck Series results from this past weekend's race at Richmond. Starting with, obviously, acknowledging that this race was pushed back a full day. It was pushed back from Friday night to Saturday afternoon, starting at about noon on the East Coast and local time in Richmond. Caden Honeycutt ultimately ended up taking the victory. Started on the front row alongside Shane Van Gisbergen in the 7. SVG finished in 4th, driving for Spire Motorsports. Honeycutt's part-time teammate of Corey Heim finished in 2nd place, driving the 5 truck. Christian Eckes and Grant Enfinger in 3rd and 5th, round out the top 5. Rest of the top 10, Jake Garcia, Chandler Smith, Tristan McKee in his Craftsman Truck Series debut for Spire Motorsports in the 77 finishes in 8th. Great showing for the young teenage driver of the Spire number 77. Gio Ruggiero finishes in 9th, Daniel Hemrick in 10th. Tyler Ankrum, Nick Lietz driving for Tricon Garage in the 1 truck. Tanner Gray, Landon Lewis, and Lane Riggs round out the top 15. Leland Honeyman Jr. filling in for Christopher Bell. Bell was slated to run the Friday night truck race for Halmar Friesen in the 62. Leland Honeyman ended up stepping in as Bell would be competing probably on in the truck race and the cup race on the same day. With that, wrist, Joe Gibbs Racing was probably like, we'll just focus on the cup race. We'll get someone else in there to drive for Halmar Friesen Racing in the 62. That's what they ended up doing. Ben Rhodes, Majeski, and Brendan Queen round out the top 20. Andres Perez started 8th in this one, ends up in 23rd. Justin Haley finishes in 27th. Connor Hall, driving for Nice Motorsports, in his first start back in the Truck Series, finished in 28th. Elliott Sadler, driving for Ram in the 25 truck, finished in 32nd. Destiny Spurlock, driving for Team Rayum, Josh Rayum's team in the 2 truck, finished in 35th. Struggled for pace in this one. And then Stuart Friesen on the chase bubble for the Truck Series, finished in 36th. Last place, started in 9th. Had a crash, I believe, in turn 1 due to a tire failure. That's not good for his chase hopes. But looking at the chase standings for the Truck Series, Kenny Honeycutt has eaten into that gap of Lane Riggs with only, I believe, 1 race to go, which is New Hampshire this coming weekend. Honeycutt has closed the gap to 61 points on Lane Riggs, so still within striking distance. Caden Honeycutt can challenge Lane Riggs for the top spot in the chase standings. Chandler Smith in 3rd, Christian Eckes 4th, Ruggiero 5th, Ty Majeski in 6th. Ruggiero and Majeski all have clinched spots in the chase. Grant Enfinger moves up to 7th. Ben Rhodes down to 8th. Hamrick and Ankrum round out the top 10. Stuart Friesen is the first driver out now. He is 20 points behind Tyler Ankrum. Jake Garcia is out by 21, and then Brendan Queen, Corey Heim, he's not full-time, but might as well mention him. He's 14th in the standings and hasn't run every single race, which is just insane. Perez, Gray, and Haley are the first drivers out. Realistically, it is Friesen and Garcia that have the best chances to get in. Ankrum is the first guy on the bubble. Hemrick is the second guy. Realistically, I would say Hemrick and Ankrum are the 2 drivers at risk of falling out of the top 10 and falling victim to Stuart Friesen and Jake Garcia in the Craftsman Truck Series standings. But congratulations to Caden Honeycutt on claiming his second win of the Craftsman Truck Series season with Tricon Garage in the 11. Now let's go ahead and move on to the final segment of today's show. However, it is the NASCAR Cup Series Power Rankings post-Richmond edition, heading into the penultimate race of the NASCAR Cup Series season at New Hampshire. Starting off here with the honorable mentions here, I got to give some credit to the 21 team and Josh Berry. 3 straight top 10s for this 21 team. They're nowhere close to being a top 10 team in the sport, but I got to give them some credit, man. 3 straight top 10s for this team when it's been a pretty miserable season. Yeah, I got to give them some credit. And Josh Berry really putting his name out there to be one of the top guys to fill a cup ride next year. So got to give them some credit. I also got Austin Cindric, another Penske driver. Returned to action last week in Iowa, was not very good for this 2 team, needed a good run. They found it this weekend, though, at Richmond. For a while, Cindric had just a string of finishes of either 14th or 13th, so gotta admire consistency. Cindric pulls out at Richmond with a top 5 and a 3rd place finish, so really good for his chase standings. We'll see if we can continue that momentum in the final 2 races of the season. And finally, honorable mention, I have Ross Chastain. I know I put him in my top 10 after Iowa, and that might have been a little aggressive, I'm not going to lie. I have him outside the top 10 this week. Had another good run at Richmond, finished in 12th, just outside the top 10. Another solid race weekend for Chastain, putting himself in the chase conversation. We'll see if he can capitalize with 2 races left to go in the regular season. But getting the top 10 underway, beginning with number 10, welcome back, Chase Elliott. With a 1-week hiatus, but Chase Elliott is back up inside the top 10 after 2 pretty mediocre weekends in Iowa and Richmond, in Indianapolis, and then Wilkes-Barre was not good at all. Chase Elliott came back at Richmond and was very, really solid. Worked his way up through the field after starting pretty deep in it. Finished inside the top 5. Another good result for Chase Elliott. Maybe this is the spark that this 9 team needed to get back on track heading into the chase. So we'll see how Elliott does this weekend in New Hampshire. Another short track should be a good place for Chase Elliott. At number 9, back inside the top 10 for the first time in a little bit, I got Elliott's teammate of William Byron, back-to-back top 10s of 9th place. Certainly has my attention, William Byron. So again, maybe this is just the little boost after the break that Byron needs heading into the chase. He's still 12th in points, has a little bit of time to really turn things around and, really cement himself back in the championship fight. So we'll see what Byron can do heading into the final 2 weeks of the NASCAR Cup Series regular season. I got Byron at 9. At number 8, down one spot once again, I have the 45 of Tyler Reddick. He had a good finish at Richmond, but didn't have the right pace, I would say. He was kind of struggling all night. Really only got some track position that really could, make the car better with some pit strategy. So, yeah, clearly didn't have the right pace. And similar to his teammate, Bubba Wallace, it's just been, full of ups and downs for this 45 team. 8th at Atlanta, 30th at Wilkesboro, 10th at Indianapolis, 30th last place at Iowa, and then 11th at Richmond. So I don't know what to make of this team and overall 2311 Racing, because they've just been up and down like a roller coaster and some moguls. Yeah, so I still got Reddick inside the top 10. He's got 5 wins on the year, but a tale of 2 seasons for Tyler Reddick, and got to put him in the bottom half of the top 10 for that reason. At number 7, I have Kyle Larson. After 2 pretty rough weeks at Indianapolis and Iowa, bounced back with a top 10 at Richmond. Did not have a good car early on. Used a little bit of pit strategy, made the car a little bit better, allowed for Kyle Larson to work his way up through the field and get inside the top 10. So, turned a bad day to good for that 5 team with Kyle Larson. Maybe this will be a shot in the arm for the team. And overall, Hendrick Motorsports looks pretty good at Richmond, so we'll see if the 5 team will finally break through before the regular season ends, because now he's down to 8th in the standings. Good lord, it has not been good for Kyle Larson as of late, but maybe things will be turning around after this one in Richmond. At number 6, I have Christopher Bell. 3 straight top 10s for this 20 team of Bell. 7th at Richmond, even though struggled early on in this one, managed to rally and finish inside the top 10. And coming off of 2 very disappointing second place finishes at Indianapolis and Iowa. And even before that, second place at Echo Park Speedway in Atlanta. So Byron has been extremely solid throughout the entire summer months. He's up to 7th in the standings, still looking for that first win. But it's coming. It's coming very, very soon. Maybe he'll do it in New Hampshire, where he found a sweep last year where he swept the O'Reilly race and the Cup race all in the same weekend. So maybe that's on the horizon once again for Christopher Bell and the 20 team. At number 5, I have the 54 team and Ty Gibbs. He's down 2 spots from last week where he was at number 3. Richmond was just fine for Ty Gibbs. Started up in 4th place inside the top 10, but had another penalty on pit road, another mistake on pit road, cost him some track position, and couldn't use pit strategy to make things happen. Couldn't work his way up through the field, was trapped a lap down. So it was just overall kind of a whatever race for Ty Gibbs. And, he has good pace every single week, but these pit road mistakes have to stop happening if he wants to continue to win races and be a championship contender. So we'll see if Gibbs can correct those mistakes heading into New Hampshire. At number 4, I have Mr. Giggles Logano, Mr. Baldman over there, Joey Logano. After another win in Richmond, was one of the better cars out on track. Had a really solid result, and Richmond gained that win. But he's been solid over the last 5 races and throughout this entire summer, ever since North Wilkesboro and even at Echo Park Speedway. He's been very solid. I mean, got that win at Echo Park Speedway, 3rd at Indianapolis, finished just inside the top 15 last weekend in Iowa, where he did have a winning car, but had a pit road mistake that cost him all his track position and was working his way through the field, just didn't have enough time, and then obviously had that win at Richmond. So Logano's been good. Another short track. Can he get another win heading into the chase? We'll find out. At number 3, I have Chase Briscoe. Ever since Atlanta 2, he's just been on a tear, man. 4 consecutive top 10s. 3 of them have been inside the top 5, with the lone one being a 6th place last weekend in Iowa. So Chase Briscoe, he's caught some fire and was in the mix to win again at Richmond. So New Hampshire, good track for Joe Gibbs Racing, short flat oval. We'll see if he can get it done once again and give himself some extra boost, climb up inside the top 4. Maybe he'll be really in the contention for the championship. Who knows? I got Briscoe at number 3. At number 2, down 1 spot from last week, I got Ryan Blaney, and Blaney's just been super consistent. He's 2nd in points. He's still in there, but this one, he just hasn't looked good over the last 3 races, I would say. Iowa being the little outlier, but Indianapolis was not good, and then the 13th at Richmond was not bad, but didn't stay with the rest of the pack as the night went on. Progressively just got worse. Couldn't really make anything happen, so I mean, he's still good, but just wasn't as impressive as, the guy at number 1. But he's been solid throughout this entire summer. Got a win back at Echo Park Speedway a couple weeks ago, so he's still good. Maybe he'll find some fire at a short flat oval like New Hampshire. And then Daytona's coming up in 2 weeks' time, which is the track that he won at last year. So we'll see. Blaney's got some good tracks lined up, though, so I have him at number 2. But at number 1, I have Denny Hamlin. 4 consecutive top 5s for Denny Hamlin. Yeah, that's good enough to get you back up inside the top, at the number 1 spot. So Hamlin's been on a heater as of late. Another short flat oval that, Joe Gibbs Racing has done well at in the past. Maybe we'll get his 5th win at New Hampshire. And then Daytona, he's won there in the past before. Some good tracks lined up for him and Blaney. Both the 1-2 drivers are firmly in the driver's seat heading into the final 2 weeks of the regular season. So there you go. Got Hamlin at 1 to round out the top 10. We'll run through it once again real quick. Number 1 got Denny Hamlin, 2 Ryan Blaney, 3 Chase Briscoe, 4 Joey Logano, 5 Ty Gibbs, 6 Christopher Bell, 7 Kyle Larson, 8 Tyler Reddick, 9 William Byron, and 10 Chase Elliott, with the honorable mentions being Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric, and Josh Berry. But I think that will wrap it up for this episode of Talkin NASCAR, everyone. A little bit all over the place once again, but with the big breaking news, I don't know how organized my thoughts can be in this given situation. So let me know down in the comments once again what you think about the Connor Zilisch news, about my power rankings once again. So let me know down in the comment section below. But thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned for more. Got the Richmond race review coming up probably later today, maybe tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see. But again, thank you so much for listening. Check out Talking Sports with Miles and Andrew. Don't forget to do that. I'll have links down in the description below. So yeah, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time in the next episode of Talkin NASCAR.